All right. So, welcome to our second session in the ABCs of Wealth series. Thank you so much to everyone who's been working on doing their assignments, been monitoring all the assignments as they're being completed. Uh, the thing is that we do see when assignments are completed. That's one of the maybe the benefits of Google Sheet because it has timestamps on when things are done. So this gives us a view of encouraging people to not wait until the last minute. So we do see who do their assignments early and then who kind of waits for the last minute. But a lot of the team members have done it early. So I want to do a quick review of what we did I want saying last week, but our last session, and then we'll continue with the new topics for today. So let me share my screen, and hopefully, by the time we're done with the review, other team members will be joining too. I'm setting up my screen, see everything. All right, so last session we started with our initial goals in life, the goals that we have set for ourselves, and then also the goals that are set for us in the scriptures, in different scriptures, in the Bible, in the Quran, in Baha'i writing, in Buddha's writing, and they all talk about the same thing, that we should have three spiritual goals in life, which is to develop our characteristics so we are prepared for the next stage of life, to know God, to worship Him, and to attain His presence, developing ourselves, and then also being service to humanity. So those were the scriptures that we reviewed, and it's clearly over and over. It has talked about that we should not be concerned with our life necessities: food, water, clothing, shelter, and health. Because God who created us, He created the lily of the field and the bird. And if He provides for the bird, for the flower in the field, why do we think that we are any less than those? So we should take example, and that's what the quote from Buddha says, if we understand, go back in here, if we could see the miracle of a single flower clearly, our whole life would change. And this is something that most of us have a hard time recognizing, that this is how the system is supposed to be working. And of course, it doesn't mean that we sit around and say, all right, God, you created me, provide my life necessities.
Hold on, 76 people here.
But as the Bible again has said, it's seek the kingdom of God and His righteousness first, and then everything else shall be added on to you. So if we are not supposed to be concentrating on the life necessities, doesn't matter what age we're in. Obviously, when we are young, we don't have to worry about it because our parents provide. But as we grow older, we become responsible for our own life necessities. So that's why we need to concentrate on these three goals. And what's holding us back right now? The society, not the technology itself, but social media, news, advertising, everything that we see is pulling us from being a spiritual being toward a material being. And that's what we're just concentrating on more and more. Unfortunately, we're concentrating on the material stuff. But we also recognize that there is a reason these temptations and desires, they're not there just to be there. They're a way for us to test our progress toward the goals, and develop our characteristics, these treasures that we talked about, we discovered last week. Sorry, I keep saying, well, it was last week. So our last session, we read that we are born rich, with all these treasures. So we are born with all of them, but throughout our life, we need to work on polishing our treasures so become a better spiritual person and allow our spirit guide us instead of our material and our mind. So I think most of the team members have done their assignments. Great job, everybody. Recognizing our strong character traits, and then also the ones that need a little bit more work. We need to work on them. I believe everybody did pick one character trait that they like to work on it even more throughout our lives. And then there was a lot of great comments about how character traits play a role in our financial life, in our relationships, in our work life, everything. These treasures, these character traits are the foundation of our human existence. That's why we are. And that's why the design of program based on these character traits. So I'm going to stop here. I know I had a assignment for Abube. Abube, did you do the experiment that you were supposed to do with the diamond in the closet?
Hello.
Did you do it? Do you
No.
remember? Oh, remember you were supposed to take a diamond, a shiny diamond, take it into a very dark room, like a closet or something, and see if you can see it.
We didn't have one.
Oh, you didn't have one. Okay. Well, here's what you can do. It doesn't matter whether it's a diamond or anything else. Just at nighttime, go into a closet and see if you can see anything. It's the same concept. And the idea is that we need the light to be able to see objects. And in our human existence, it's about light of God that makes us shine. So that's the idea. It doesn't have to be diamond, it can be anything. All right, very cool. All right, before we go into patience and look at some of our goals, I want to stop here and see if there's any question that what we did as you did the assignments. Did anything come up? Did you discover anything about yourself? I did put the question in the chat yesterday, group chat, but nobody responded. Anybody had a revelation as if you discovered something new about yourself, about your character traits? Oh, everybody's quiet today. You can.
May I give a comment?
Yes, go ahead, Celia.
I guess as I went through all the traits, because there were two responses, needs improvement or strong, I kind of was feeling a bit overwhelmed. Like maybe I'm like too off the required mark. But along the way, I started to comfort myself that since there's no middle ground, if you have enough, it is fine. So so that's how I started to look at it. And I still had many needs improvement, but I felt a bit better by the time I was done.
Okay, all right. And that's the point of this exercise. So, okay. Chidera, am I saying that correctly? Go ahead, you're unmuted. You want to add something?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, no problem. Just wanted to make sure. Okay. That's all right. So I'll mute you. All right. So, and this is not a one-time thing. I mean, we're going to work this. This is our lifelong endeavor to work on these character traits. I have not been able to master any of them. I think if we can master any of these character traits, it would be a major accomplishment. But these are things that we just keep that in mind, and we'll continue to work on them in our lives. All right. So just as we discovered what our spiritual goals should be in life, then your assignment was to also come up with some new material goals in life, and because we need to track them, just as our temptations and desires help us test and make sure that we are developing these character traits. We also need to write down our material goals and see how we're going to achieve them. Can I have a volunteer that I can share their worksheet as far as what goals they set, so we can see the actual example? Do I have permission to pull up anybody's worksheet to look at their goals and objectives? Nobody's volunteering.
Can you use mine?
Okay, all right, sounds good, thank you. Good, thank you. I'm waiting for the worksheet to load. And let's see. All right, okay. So, and I forgot to tell everyone that you can just delete the iPhone. That was just an example, but it's okay. So Zimwa, do you want to tell us about your first goal, purchasing this land? Why do you want to do this? And just kind of walk us through what's your plan? Can you tell us about your goal?
Yes, I can. I'm
Go ahead.
shy.
No, don't worry about it. Nobody can see that your camera is up, so you can feel comfortable. Go ahead.
Okay, so I put that well, just to have assets that I can liquidate, basically. So when you're investing, at least I have a mutual fund, so I thought it'd be good to have invest in real estate. Of course, I am buying a house right now. I cannot buy a house, so I went for what I could afford in short term, which is a land. So which is why I put that one there. I don't want to build on it yet. It's just it appreciates. I can either sell it off or collaborate with a developer to put a building on it, and then we share profits, that kind of thing.
Okay, all right, very good.
Yeah.
So have you already, you haven't bought this yet, right? You're thinking of buying this in 2024, is that right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, all right. Have you already saved up some money for it from the 2 million? Have you saved any of the 2 million?
Well, I've saved money, but I didn't allocate it to anything.
Okay,
So I always had in mind to invest. But when we started to write this, I was like, oh, okay, I can easily just move the funds to, since this is top tier and from my personal savings. So I guess I can say, yes, I've saved some.
okay,
So,
right.
yes.
okay, all right, very good. Okay, thank you so much. So this is a great example of starting to set some goal, start saving for it. And it's the same process for our whether it's a family or a business partnership that you are thinking of doing. So this is all great. Now, what you're going to learn today is how to actually keep track of our progress. It's like the goals that, so the land is going to cost 2 million now, and you want to do it in 1 year. So we should be able to every month be able to see, it's like, okay, I have saved this much this month, and this is, so we are on track. Can anybody guess what is the best way for us to keep track of our financial affairs? How much money we earn, how much money we spend, how much money we have, what do we owe? That's going to be the topic that we're going to be talking about right now, but I want to see if anybody has ideas.
I think for us to know how much we earn, basically we have to think about our basic amenities like our house rent, feeding money, and things that are fixed. So we state the ones that are fixed,
Okay,
and then we have a sheet, I think, that will state the variable costs.
okay, very good. Do you know what is that called? What is this whole process called? I'll give you a little hint. So you're exactly, yeah, you're
So
exactly.
I don't think
That's budgeting.
hello?
Yes. Is it what? Go
Hello?
ahead.
Sorry.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
yes,
can.
sorry. Okay. So we oh crap. What's the question again?
So the question is the sheet that we're looking at. It's actually now I'm revealing it. So what you're talking about is having a budget, being able to see how much money comes in and how much money goes out and where it goes. So that's what
Yeah.
I was trying to get to. All right. So before we dive into this, I want to ask our everybody who's created a budget and is keeping track of their finances. I'll put it in the chat so people, you can either unmute yourself or just respond to it in the chat. As a budget. Okay, is anyone, you want to add something?
No, I thought you wanted us to answer a question.
Oh, okay.
Well, I am great. I have a budget per se, but the personal home budget, like, I don't take that one too seriously.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes, because I find myself having to. Who has a budget? Thank you. So I keep track of income, business wise, but home wise, not really. By the time I've done some basic pay this bill, I can easily shift budgeted funds. Like if I want to go to the salon and there's something pressing that just shows up in my face,
Mhm.
I toss that off the window and then just redirect the funds.
Okay.
I
Well,
do a
yeah.
bit of.
Okay. So you have a power that most of us don't have, because most of us are not able to keep track of our expenses and income and expenses. Most of the time, we know how much money comes into our pocket, but then we also know the major expenses like rent, utilities, things that are fixed, as you were mentioning. Nika, you wanted to add something. I saw your microphone go unmute.
All right, I've put mine on the chat actually. I just
Okay.
put it
So you don't have a budget. Your family does not operate on a budget.
not really. It's
Oh,
just work on a hunch. Yeah.
Okay, all right. All right. So this is going to be one of the major habit that we'll have to develop over time. A budget sheet is an absolute must and necessary for everyone. It's amazing that often we have in every workshop, we have someone who has a financial background, either an accountant or mostly like accountants. And when they go through the workshop, at the end they said, well, they never told us that we have to do this for ourselves in our personal life. It's only for clients. And even as Imwa was mentioning, she does it for her business, but then not for the house. So a household is exactly the same. It's like a business. We need to know what's happening, because this is how we are going to keep track of our progress. Like when we set a goal, it's very easy to forget what goal we are working toward, how much we have saved, what we have done. So this is how we're going to be doing this. And for Ebube, since you don't have, probably you can either help your parents with this budget, I have something else for you for your allowance. So let me show you how this sheet works. It's fairly simple. I actually had, I'm gonna ask Edith. I already actually asked Edith to do this and she did. Edith, do you wanna share your thoughts? What did you think when you used this sheet?
Hello, yeah?
Yes, go ahead. What did you think when you used this sheet?
Okay, when I use the sheet, it made me realize I'm spending too much.
Exact purpose of this sheet. And the reason that I asked Edith to do this is because she's on top of her assignments. Before our first session, she was the first one to do it, and Saturday, as soon as we were done with the session, she completed her assignment. So I said, do you want to do some extra? Edith, in what area do you think you're spending more?
Okay, supermarkets, clothing, yeah.
Okay, all right, okay, very good. All right, thank you so much. So the way this sheet works is that we start by populating, and I've set it to start from July. So once we are done with the program, you'll see how this works. This is our column B in the yellow boxes, is what we currently think our average monthly income and expenses are going to be. So for example, if I have a job or if I have a job that pays me $2,000 per month, I put that in there. And as you saw, it automatically filled in the budget number for every month for the whole year. So this budget sheet is for 12 months. So I put the 2,000 in here, and then it automatically filled in. So it's saying that for the next 12 months, I think that from my job, I will have a 2,000, I'll just use dollars, monthly income. Now, it's okay if your income fluctuates, you have more or less. Again, this is the average that we think it's going to be. This is what we are expecting to receive in our monthly. This is not the actual. So that's why it fills into the column of budget. Then I'm going to start filling in my expenses. I'll come back to the passive income. So expenses, my rent is 500. So I do that. And the worksheet does the same thing. As soon as I put in what I think my average monthly rent is, it will put it in for every sheet. Now, I do believe that if I'm not mistaken, working with friends in Nigeria in the past, I believe you pay rent either 6 months or once a year. Is that correct? Is that normal? Can somebody tell me what is normal in Nigeria? I don't think.
Yes,
Go
it's
ahead.
normally.
It's normally what? How do you pay your rent normally?
Annually.
What, once a year?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So that's fine. So in that case, we can still put it in as monthly, and then save that $500 per month in one account, because we know that it is going to come. Let's say if you pay your annual rent in October, you do need to save up that $500 per month and keep it in an account. So it's okay if we set it as monthly, but then we pay it once a year. Then we put in the same things, utilities, whatever you pay, you think, again, this is just the average of what you think you're going to be paying. So let's say $150 for utilities, supermarket, let's say 200, mobile phone, again, these are all numbers. These are not actual numbers, and we're not going to put anything in the green columns. So right now, we're just creating a budget of what we think our expenses is going to be on a monthly basis. And with the fact that we know that every month is going to be different, it's not going to be the same. Clothing, 100. So as we fill these numbers in, look at this here. I put in the 2,000 for my monthly income, and it shows that my monthly income is 2,000. Now, if I'm a young person and still my parents is giving me some money, so maybe I'm getting another 100 from my parents, or anything else. Our students received loans in here, or it can be from a business. I'll just put business here. So we can have different categories of income. So this says that I have 2,100. I'm expecting to receive 2,100 every month as income. So far, I have allocated 1,000 for my expenses. Now, like I said, some of the expenses are fixed, but then a lot of them are going to be different. Entertainment or eating out. So let's say 200 and eat out. And this is always constantly calculating of how much income less expenses is. Now, if I all of a sudden decide to take a travel and my travel is going to cost 1,000, look what happens up there. It just, of course, I'm not going to spend 1,000 every month on travel, but it all of a sudden when I spending more than what my income is going, I think it's going to be, it will make all the numbers red. So that's a red flag. Like, oh, I allocated too much for expenses. Sorry. All right, I'm gonna stop here and see if there are any questions. I know this is something new for a lot of friends, just like the Google Calendar. So I want to stop here and see if there are any questions about how we start this budget. Did I put everybody to sleep? Or is it just too overwhelming?
No, you didn't. There are formulas in the sheet, yeah?
Yes, there are formulas in the sheet that does all the calculations, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I have a question, John. My question would be, is this for the individual or for the household? Or
It's for the household.
it's for the household?
Yes, yes. So you are, right now, you're starting to create a budget for the household because you're living. If you have a business, you create this for the business. And you can create this for both a business. If you have your own business, you can do both. The process is the same. So it is for the household. Other question?
Nope.
No, you're good. Okay. So this is going to be, and this is going to take some time. I know that this is not an easy thing, especially nobody else responded to whether they have a budget or not. They keep track of their income and expenses. Nika, you have a question?
Sorry, I think there's a question on the chat.
Yes,
Question.
Celia, is the spreadsheet on the class page? Yes, it is in your worksheet. So when you log in after, it's a second tab or from the table of contents, it's right here. It says budget, income and expenses. Sorry, I forgot to tell you how to get there. So it's right there. It's either this annual budget sheet or from here, you can get to it from there. All right. So once we create this, now this is fairly easy to create. I mean, because we can think about numbers, and again, if they do not have to be exact, you can just guess, because if you have never kept track of your income and expenses, you might know some of the numbers, but others you're just going to make a educated guess. Now, the difficult part is to start tracking your expenses throughout the month. So again, your income would be fairly easy because you know how much your income is. So let's say my income, and this one, the actual, we're not going to do it now. This we will do it in August because we will have to wait until all the expenses are done for the month of July. And then we will fill those in the actual column in August. So I'll remind everyone when to do that, but I just want to show you how it works. So let's say I received a little bit more income. I got $2,500. Then my rent obviously is the same. Utilities could be a little bit more, could be a little bit less. Supermarket, I thought I'm spending 200, but in reality, now that I'm keeping track of it, I'm spending twice as much. And then we fill in all the numbers again. This column B, we're going to do it in August, not now. The only thing that your assignment is for now is to create what you think your income and expenses are going to be on a monthly basis. And believe me, some people would rather give up their life before they do this. It's an eye-opening, but for some people, they don't want to know how much they spend in different categories. They have a fear, and this comes from experience. We have had people that done our workshop and they just couldn't do this because they were fearful of knowing how much they spent. All right. Okay, are we good?
All right, we're good.
All right. So now let's do our. We can go into our breakouts group, and I want to pose a question. And we have one of our team members, Ms. Banks, Ms. Judy Banks. She's one of our greatest team members in here. You see her name in there. She's been with us for 12 years. I kind of messed up on Saturday. I forgot to add her into so she didn't attend Saturdays, but you'll get to meet her. Let's do the breakout session. And the conversation is going to be about, since nobody put down that they do this, how have your family been managing your finances, especially in the friends that have a spouse? Like, how do you do it? Is it one spouse that's earning the money and doing all the expenses, they keep track of it? Or last term, we had families here from US that some of them said, if both are working, one spouse said that, well, I work, this is my income, and I pay the rent and the food and stuff like that, and my husband pays, let's say, utilities and eat out and everything else out of his income. And the question was, so you don't know what is your expenses for your household? And the response was no. So in your group today, let's see what you guys can come up with. The question is how you have been managing your home finances. And I believe we have mostly families here. So I'm going to stop my screen sharing. Let me create the rooms. Breakout rooms. And we'll do 2. And Nika, you can take one group, and Ms. Banks can take Ms. Banks, are you participating or just listening to us? Yeah. Okay, I'll go into the other room. So Nika, you got one room, and I'll go into the other room, and we'll talk about the question of how you and your family have been managing finances. And we'll take 10 minutes and we'll come back. So please join your breakout. Okay, who would like to start? So the question is how you have been managing your family finances.
Okay. So I'm not quite sure. I live with my parents.
Okay.
So in terms of household expenses, utilities, things like that, I don't really pay for those.
Okay.
So and I wouldn't really know how much is being spent on that. But
Okay.
I do contribute to maybe feeding, groceries. I take my siblings to and from school, so transportation, things like that. But I know how I contribute directly to those, but I don't have a general picture.
Okay, all right. So do you think this exercise would be helpful, even though still you're living with your parents? Do you think it would be for you, would it be helpful to start creating a budget of what you're doing?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, all right.
I think it'll be helpful. Yeah.
Okay, and are you living in Nigeria or in the US? I know you guys were visiting, you're visiting US currently, right?
My mom is still there. The rest of us have come back.
Oh, okay, all right, okay.
Yeah.
So let's start that. I mean, it's and you're at such a young age that it is essential to start doing this process, and as you continue with your life, and then hopefully when you have your own family, then you'll be equipped to do this for your family. I think it's going to be very helpful. Okay.
I agree.
All right. Who else?
Okay,
Right.
okay.
Go ahead, Edith.
Okay. When I was married, he pays the rent, he pays the school fees. I handle groceries and other smaller bills. Yeah, that's how.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Do you think, so you don't have an overall idea of how much your household, what your household expenses are? You have never put them together, right?
No, not really, no.
Okay. Do you think it would be helpful to do that?
Yes, actually, yes. I think it would help save better and actually have goals and achieve those goals. But it was almost like, okay, this is yours, this is yours, this is mine, and all that. And we're saving independently, not really, yeah.
Not together. Okay.
No.
All right. Okay. Very good. So, and we have seen like, I mean, this is the process. It's not something that I created. It's something that a lot of people use. And my wife and I have been using this for the 30 years that we've been married. And it just does wonders. I mean, both of us, and sometimes she does the logistics. So there are two sides into this. There's the logistics side, keeping track of what's happening. But then the psychological and the more important side is knowing what is happening to the family finances. Everybody, both couples and then children and youth, as they grow older, they will get more and more involved in this process. Okay. All right. Very good. Let's see. Celia, do you want to share how, I think you had a question. Have you had a budget before? All right, let me see what other topics we can talk about. So let's talk about what areas are that we.
Sorry, I was talking. I thought I was mute. I thought
No.
I was
Okay,
I
go
was
ahead.
telling my story.
Go ahead. Oh, go ahead.
So yeah, so I not as a family,
Mhm.
but and I think I kind of do what everyone does. Those are your expenses, these are my expenses.
Okay.
And yes, I agree that it's a lot better if you can be able to see the full picture. It kind of helps with decision making and, you know, progressing from a budget perspective, a financial growth perspective. Otherwise, on my own, I wouldn't say it's really a budget, but I kind of know that like I have fixed items, like where I have standing orders. Then I have, and those include where I do my savings, paying my tithe, everything. So that in my philosophy, whatever I have remaining is mine to spend. So before I start spending, I've kind of taken off what I need to save, you know, in whatever ventures I'm saving, and expenses that I need to pay, everything. So I know whatever is remaining, which is usually not large. I try and stay within, you know, the recommended parameters, say to save 20% or so. I'm not sure how much, but I try.
Okay.
And that is fixed for me.
Okay. All right. Very good. So hopefully this process, this budget process, will help everyone get a better overview of what's happening to your finances and help with your saving goals. And the question about how much to save, there are a lot of different numbers out there, but it's really about everybody's different. First, we have to think about our life necessities. It's like, what is it that we need to have? But then we have to make sure that we do qualify what is really in need. So for example, the latest iPhone is not a need. Even if our phone breaks, I don't have to buy the latest iPhone. But food and clothing, depending on what is the absolute minimum, not minimum need, but what is something that I like to have that's good for me, but something extravagant that is not necessarily a need. So and this process will help with that a lot. All right, let me see what other questions we have for this session. Ms. Banks, if you're there, do you want to add anything while I look at questions?
I would just like to say that I've been talking to a lot of senior citizens, and it's very important to know the right hand needs to know what the left hand is doing. In order for something happens to him, you need to know what's going on. Something happens to me, I need to know what's going on. And what I'm seeing with a lot of families is that you do your part and I do my part, but I don't know what your part is and you don't know what my part is. Then I think it's very, very important to get this together.
Yep, thank you for sharing that. I wasn't even thinking about that. That is absolutely important to know what's happening to the family finances and both sides. And not, this is not just the family finances, even in a, like a business partnership.
Right.
It's like there needs to be at least more than one person who understands where everything is. And in some societies, it's more complicated. Like for us here, we utilize a lot of credit cards. A lot of families do. We have a loan on our house. We have a loan on cars. We have loan on everything, on student loans. And this was the issue. And often here in the US, people don't recognize how much debt they have, especially families. Even this last series that we did, there was a couple that now we are working with them on individual basis. And when we started working, they said, yes, we have a few $1,000s in debt. And once we put it together, it turned out to be $50,000, which is a lot for a young family. And that does not even consider including their student loan, which is that's another $300,000 in student loan. But so yes, for everyone to know what's happening, this is quite important. Okay, let me close the breakout rooms. I think we're done in like 10 minutes. If anybody has anything else to share, we can stay here. Otherwise, we can go back to the main room. We good? Okay. All right. See you guys in the main room. What did you guys talk about?
Okay, so for my team, we had 3 ladies, and basically it was like similar. What we really have control over is the upkeep money for the household, usually. So the rent and the major financial outlays like the rent and the school fees are usually taken care of by the spouses. So you usually have like what we take care of will be the running costs for the house, like the foods, the groceries, the things that come up, in the household. And that's how it's structured really in the 3 households that we have. Then we had Amara, who's a student or just, and basically about the same thing. She gets a rent from the parents, and then she has like an on-campus job that she used to do. And then she has like a credit card that kinds of checks what she spends or what she spends on what. But all these are really mental. I'm not sure any of us has like a paper and pen thing that says, okay, this is what I'm going to spend on this. And then at the end of the day, we check it. It's just like a mental thing. If you notice that, okay, I had to spend a little bit more to buy in bulk, like in Nigeria, we buy bags in rice, buy rice in bags. So in a month where we have to buy that bag of rice that we can use for 6 months, then in that month we may have to cut down on some other things, like to make your hair or to do something to accommodate that bulk spending. So really that's how we do it.
Okay. All right. And we had the same thing. We had the same thing in our group. The 3 friends, the 3 team members that shared, it was about the same. Ms. Banks shared something interesting that I have forgotten about, and that is, Ms. Banks, why don't you say it? So I'm not the only one who's talking.
Okay, I was just saying that I've been talking to a lot of my senior citizens, and the importance of knowing what and how the other person handles the money, knowing the codes, knowing the passwords, knowing where all the important paperwork is, and knowing where the money is if there's any left. You know, you may have yours over there and he may have his over here, or just the family itself, but everybody needs to know where everything is, just in case something happens to the person that is the lead, or any one of us, something could happen to the other person. If I don't know what you're doing and you don't know what I'm doing, then we probably, the cable probably get cut off. Example.
Yes, yep. So it's quite, especially for us or anybody who's living in the States, we do a lot of our financial affairs on the internet. The banks, credit cards, loans,
Yeah.
everything is so, and that's what Ms. Banks was mentioning as far as having like the users and passwords and knowing where things are. So it's quite important. Amara, are you living in US? Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I do have something, I'm gonna put it in the chat. Since you have credit card and other things, there is an app here called Mint, M-I-N-T. I'm not sure if you ever used it or not. It's a very good app. It's from a very trusted company. It's a large company that provides accounting softwares for different purposes. And this one is a free tool for individuals to be able to track their income and expenses. So let's say if you have a bank account and you have your debit card and you make some purchases on the debit card, so you have those that comes directly out of your checking account, but then you also have your credit card. So this app, Mint, allows you to bring them into one place. So every month you can see between your credit card and your debit card how much money you spend. Now, right now, I believe you're a student, so your expenses are not too much, but as you grow older, the expenses and the finances are going to become more sophisticated. So I would highly recommend using the app. I'll put it in the chat for you. All right, I want to engage Ebube, since he's the youngest member of our team, to see what he's thinking. Ebube, what are you thinking about this budget process?
I think it's good.
Okay, all right. So since you're only 10, what do you think your contribution, how are you going to learn and get involved in this budget process?
Well, I'm not really spending anything. I'm usually the one who's getting spent on. So I don't actually know how it feels to actually spend the money. I have a piggy bank at home, but I don't actually use it. So I don't actually know what you're meant to do. I've never used money before. I don't know.
Ebube, sorry, your sound is not that bad. It was okay earlier when you were talking, but I know we have a hard time hearing you. Not sure if you're away from the computer.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. So I'm going to show you what we have for you in your worksheet and for everybody else to know how we do this when we do the program in school. So obviously, when we do this program in like primary schools, we do not ask the student, our young ones, to do this budget sheet. But what we have for them is this thing called the register book. So from the first page, the register book is where we teach our young ones how to keep their track of their money, and this is based on receiving allowance. So this up here where it says I'm saving for an iPhone, this actually comes from the sheet, from the patient sheet. So whatever they put in there in that top box, I'm going to go back just for a second so you can see it. So when I go to patients, this one right up here, this line, what we set, this is in what I don't want to do it in here. Let me start. We go to my example. So this iPhone that we said we want to buy as a goal, this is what's showing up. So whatever our participants, our young participants, or everybody put in here will show up in the register book. I'm going to pull up the register book. So here, this is how we teach our young ones how to keep track of their money. And the way this one works, it's the date. So let's say if today I were to give Abube, and I want you to decide how to split the money. So let's say today is 2606 23. Let's say if I were to give you $20 in allowance, we have 4 different boxes that we can split the money. So obviously at your age, you don't have to worry about the life necessities because your parents are providing for you, correct? Do your parents feed you?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So, but we will put something in here. We'll just maybe put $5 in here, okay? So as you can see, I gave an allowance of $20. Then I allocated $5. I haven't spent it. I allocated 5, and this box is telling me how much is left. Now you have total freedom of how you want to spend this money, how you want to allocate it. Do you want to share part of this $15 with others that don't have anything? You don't have to think about it now. Let's say, actually, I'm going to go to your worksheet. I have your worksheet up here. You can see it in your own worksheet. Because I put your laptop on top. Is that the first thing you want to buy, the laptop? So let's say if Abube wants to buy the laptop, that's the first thing that he wants to buy. We'll set the date, 6/06/23. Let's say if I were to give them $20, and in class, I have my play money in here. Remember, we give our participants play money. Not around here. So let's say we ask them to set aside, let's say $5, because in class we actually go and pretend that you're shopping. That's how we do it in class with young ones. So throughout the program, we ask them to allocate some money to their spend. Sharing, investing, and saving is totally up to them. So maybe they want to share $1 with those that don't have much. And then they want to invest for their future, maybe for their college, let's say $3. And I have 11 left, so I can put this 11 in here toward the laptop that I'm purchasing. And the same process can be done in the basic level. Basic level, there we go. So while we were looking at that online, the printable version of the program has the exact same thing as a register book. So in areas where computers and networks are not available, you can have the printed pages and work with the participants to give them play money as allowance. It will happen to my play money, but and this way they learn how to start to budget their life. This is how we do it for our young participants in the school. That's how we do that. All right. Any questions about how we teach this budgeting process to our young ones before I continue? No questions? Are we good?
Okay, so I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, because we really don't have, well, I don't do allowances for the kids. What we usually would do would be like to have like chores.
Okay.
They're supposed to do some chores and earn some income while they do the chores. Well, depending on the type of chores, there are some chores that are mandatory that you're supposed to do just for being part of the household, and then over and above that, you can get some money out of it. So that's how it's structured. So it's not really something you may know that it can budget, or you don't have an idea what it's going to be at the end of the month or what it is that will come at the end of the month. So I don't know how it's going to be able to put that on the spreadsheet.
Okay. All right. So I'm glad you brought that up. That was going to be the next topic. So basically, I think that we understood you, the kids, which I'm so glad that you're doing this because chores, certain chores are our responsibility. And, and we always have this conversation in our classes with the young ones that responsibilities don't go away as we grow older. When we live by ourselves or as adults, we still have to take out rubbish. We have to help keep the house clean. We have to wash dishes, do the laundry. So this is our idea. I know that some parents feel like they should pay their children for all their chores, which we don't believe in that. We don't think that's the correct way of doing it. So I'm glad that Nika, you're doing. I want to see what other parents in the room has anybody else. Is anybody else doing any kind of allowance or pocket money for their children? Do we have any other parents that's doing this? So yeah, go ahead.
Hello. Yeah, my kids get monthly
don't think it's
allowance.
an
No,
African
yeah.
thing. There might be some, but it's not common.
Okay. All right. Edith, go ahead.
Yeah, my kids get monthly allowances.
Okay. All right. And why did you decide to give your children monthly allowance?
They asked.
Oh, they ask. Okay. Well, that's very good. Okay. All right. Izima, how about you? You have your mic open.
I don't do allowances per se for my son. He's just 4 years old anyways.
Okay.
But when I have people visit and they just feel, oh, beautiful boy, and they just give me money, I take money and throw in an account for him to eventually invest. That's it, but I'm not really paying him anything yet. It's still
Okay.
little.
Yeah, he's too little. That's definitely 4 years old.
Yeah.
Too little in there. Okay, all right. Anybody else? Okay, so our idea is that, especially now, I mean, most of us, like when I was growing up, and I'm sure Ms. Banks, I don't know, Ms. Banks, did you have allowance when you were growing up? Might be away from the computer. But anyway, most of us, we did not have allowance or pocket money as we were growing up. But times have, Ms. Banks, go ahead.
No, we did not. I did not have an allowance back in the old time days.
Yeah.
We didn't get allowance.
Yeah, I didn't either. And part of it is that times have changed. Maybe in our time, I remember I would get new toys and new clothing twice a year for my birthday and for around the holidays. And it wasn't that my parents could not afford it. My father was a doctor, so they could definitely afford it, but that's how it was. Now, you also have to look at that in our time, and I'm 55, we would not go to a grocery store and see toys, or we did not have one of these just around that we would be seeing things that, oh, I want this, I want this, I want this. Or here in US, our kids, as I mentioned, well, not just US, I think everywhere in the world these days, kids are being born with one of these devices in their hand. And they see us in US, we are just doing this, and then next day something shows up at the door. We have the delivery. So more and more now, it's so important to institute this process of giving pocket money or allowance to our children, so they begin to learn. And we know that this is not a normal, it's not normal in many societies. Even here in the US, there are not that many parents that are doing it. And sometimes they struggle with it. I was talking to a parent yesterday, and she said she was doing it for her 3 children for like a month, but then it fell off. So it does take a lot of attention and discipline. And it's not just about giving money to the children, but having a discussion with them, having guidelines with them. So with our boys, if you remember, we started this program where our older son was 6 years old. He was in kindergarten. So we gave him the treasure box, and I'll pull it up, that has the 4 slots. So it has these four slots: spend, share, invest, and save. Now, at a young age, like I was talking about Abuba's age, he doesn't have to necessarily think about spending. But usually once they get a little older, they start to hang around with their friends, maybe after school, and that is when the spending comes. But even from the young age, the concept of saving can start at a very young age. Sharing, definitely. I remember early on, we would just give our sons $1, so they would go and contribute whenever we had our monthly gatherings. Investing is a little bit more complicated to discuss, but definitely sharing and saving can start from a very young age. So we highly recommend, and it's a conversation that you need to have as a family with your spouse, and then also with your children, and depending on what age they're in, their maturity. But it really helps them to begin to learn how to manage their money. Part of our problem here, at least in US, is that still people think that money skills needs to be taught in like high school, just before they graduate from high school and go to college. Well, as you're seeing, unfortunately, that's extremely too late. And we do see that young kids in primary school, I think I mentioned that we start from grade 3, and parents can even start earlier in their household. Any question about the concept of allowance on pocket money before we move on?
Okay, so maybe my other question would be, what would be the ideal amount? I don't know, I'm not sure. Because if you ask several parents, they will have like several amounts, different types of amounts, what would be the ideal amount? And maybe Nigeria may be different from the US. Maybe what may be the ideal amount for a child of that particular age to have as pocket money. But I think, I don't know, that would be my question now.
Okay, all right. Edith, did you want to add something?
Okay, mine is just a comment. Like for me, growing up in Nigeria, same thing, no allowance or anything. And I didn't have that idea. But moving over here is something they teach them in high school, that between this age and this age, you should have this amount as your allowance monthly from your parents. So my kids are 14 and 11. So that was the point where they asked. So it was from my daughter's 13th birthday, I decided, okay, fine, you can get allowance, but not according to what they taught you in school, not that amount. I determine the amount. 1, 2, you have to let me know before you spend even a dime. It's your money, but you must tell me before you spend a dime.
Yeah,
That's sort of like to guide, to know what they're even buying or anything like things like that.
Yeah, very good points. So Nika, there is really no set amount that anybody can say. It really depends on the family finances. And often it doesn't even have to be money. I mean, if a family does not have enough money, you can even use pointers or stickers or something. And that is actually described in our basic workbook level. This is something that, let me share with you. So in the, and I'll tell you what this is. Here we encourage the parents to start giving regular allowance to their children, but it's really based on family realities. And it can be in the form of points, stickers, or similar. So the way that would work, if you don't have, if there's a family that doesn't have enough money to give to their children, they can give them like points or something, but then describe, it's like if you collect 10 points or 10 stickers, that is when we can go together to a store and buy something. So based on that, every family can institute their own process, how much it is. Sometimes families do based on age. So like they give $5 per week if the child is 5 years old or something like that. You can also think about inflation, of what it makes sense for your local economy. But there's really no set. It's just the process is a lot more important than the amount. And as Edith mentioned, really, it's about helping your child understand. We had the same thing with our boys. Whatever they wanted to save, it's like they would keep it in the treasure box, and then we would take it to the bank and on regular basis. So they got used to the idea of depositing their money into the bank. It was difficult for them because they said, Dad, you keep taking our money away and we never see it. So I kept trying to explain to them. They would record it in their little register book. This is how much you have in the bank. This is how much interest you get. And then as they grow older, but even the money that they were spending, especially when we began to give them credit cards, I think we gave them credit cards when they were 13 or 14. It was exactly what Edith was talking about. It's like, if you, first of all, you're not to buy anything for anybody. This credit card is for yourself. Like when you go out with your friends to buy ice cream, you're not there to buy ice cream for them. Everybody's on their own. And then depending on what you're buying, we need to know. And over the years, they began to develop the habit of understanding themselves. Oh, this is something I need. This is something I should have. I'm saving for this. What then it became, whether it was spent on credit card or whether it was spent cash, they understood the process. So it's something that evolves over time. Now, I'll stop here and see if there are any other comments about the pocket money and how to manage that. Okay. And one other thing, we never discipline our children by not giving them allowance. If there was something they did wrong, we never said, oh, just because you did this wrong, you're not going to get your allowance. We've always given them allowance as part of being the family because they were not working. We did not want them to feel that they have to work. So their regular chores, they always were responsible for it. If they did something extra, that was fine, but they always received, it's like we made sure they understood that we don't want you to think about how you need to earn money. But I could also see Nika's point when she said our children, when they do something extra, they earn some money. But remembering that especially when they start going out with their friends, they shouldn't feel that, well, I have to do something to earn money because they do have needs. It kind of goes back to the same thing that as parents, we are responsible to provide for the needs of our children, for their clothing, for the shelter, food, and all of that. And still, when they are like becoming 11, 12, 13, starting to hang around with their friends, still we need to provide for that as well. All right, are we good on the topic of allowance?
Yes, we are good.
Okay, all right, very good. So let's continue on. Oh, so I think I did mention, let me just show you on the worksheet what this paper is we're looking at. So every time we present a lesson plan for the children, like what we did, we do the treasures and then they do their muscle man and we give them allowance in class as play money. So they get used to the idea of receiving, developing that habit. And then at the end of every session, there's this piece of paper, there's this sheet that we sent home to the parents. So the children start to have this conversation with their parents. And the importance of this is that while we teach the basics or introduce, not even teach, while we introduce the basics of finances, especially at a young age, it is really up to the parents to continue the education and the implementation at home. So like, for example, we give allowance to the participants in school, but then that's just a pretend and it's only for the 3 months that we do the program. Now, our hope is that parents will continue that process at home. So every lesson has one of these sheets. Like for example, here, this is the first one that we encourage to give allowance. Then for patients, we encourage them to talk to their children, to identify what they want to buy, whether it's toys, clothing, whatever that is, and also begin to take them to banks if possible and start a bank account for them. And we do ask the children to read this to their parents and then bring it back with a signature or a comment. This is one of the ways that we have been able to see how the program is affecting families. And often families write down, wow, this is great, or we were doing this, or this is what we started doing. And it's really great to be able to read. And that's like a check and balance, a feedback from the parents of what they think of the program. So that's what these sheets are. These sheets do not exist in the online version, but it is part of the printable, and they can only be printed, and that's what we do in school. We don't email this to parents because email gets lost and gets forgotten. All right, any question about this aspect of the program? How to teach the lesson plans to to children and youth. Okay, everybody's quiet. All right, so let's continue on. So we got the register book. We talked about the annual budget. We did that. We started. In addition to the annual budget, there's also another sheet, which I won't go too much into it right now, because this could get a little bit overwhelming. So our annual budget does the income, monthly income, and monthly expenses. And then in the assets and liabilities, this is where we keep track of what we have and what we own. So for example, if you have rental properties, what is the value, bank accounts, because we have to, and this is how we will progress to see, are we saving enough for the things that we want to have or things that we want to accomplish. We'll talk more about this on Thursday. All right, let's talk about moderation. So this is the next lesson plan from our basic level, and it's about creating a balance in our life. We try to create that balance, but then it's very difficult, and we don't allocate enough time for things. So there are several activities in here. Let me start with this one, with the time management. Who in the group has challenges managing their time? Who's brave enough to say that you have challenges managing your time? You're spending maybe too much time on something and not enough on the other. Anybody? Okay, I'm sure there are people that are having challenges. So the purpose of this, and this is an exercise that's ongoing, it's not a one-time. We think it's really helpful for individuals to do some kind of a time management, especially because now we are adding this new item, managing our finances. It's something that time needs to be spent to that. And the way this works, it's very similar to the budget sheet. It's like we have to, for every day of the week, we should create a kind of a system to keep track of, are we doing the things that we're supposed to be doing or not, or how much time we spend. So spiritual, and this can be in minutes. So spiritual development, whatever that is, praying, attending church, whatever that is, and it doesn't have to be same every day. So let's say, for example, if on Sundays I go to church for 2 hours, I put 60 minutes in here, or sorry, 1 hour in church, 60 minutes in there. Family time, that's something that we have to do. And spiritual development actually should not be limited just when we go to church. Now that could be a little bit, let's do 120 minutes in there for 2 hours. But then every day I do need to spend time on my spiritual development, maybe 20 minutes, just pray, either individually or with family, reading the scriptures, doing different things. So I'm just putting some examples in here. Family time, obviously we need to have family time. If this could be just when we eat dinner together or something like that. Managing finances, this is going to be one that is new to everyone. Because if we have been doing managing our finances based on what we remember, now we're going to set some time. And we start in a during this program. So the assignments that we're giving you, let's hope that you are putting enough time to manage your finances. And it could be like once a week. So 30 minutes, once a week, I put in a allocated time in there, and so forth. So you see how it works. Then you can add on. And this is something that unfortunately a lot of youth are spending a little bit too much time in there. We have friends that say, even at a very young age, they are doing 2 hours. Well, it shouldn't be a budget. So it works the same way. Column B is for how much time we think we should be spending on different things. And then column A is the actual. So we know that our youth are spending a lot of time on social media, which is not necessarily the greatest thing to do. So that's the purpose of this one. Again, this is ongoing, especially those that have challenges managing their time. Writing down is very helpful. So as you can see, both in our budget sheet and in our time management, it's really important to be able to sit down and write. I remember one time when I was working with a student in grade 12, I asked him to do this, and one of the students said, "So is it just like how much time I spend in the morning, or is it all day?" I said, "No, all day." And she said, "Wow, that's a lot. I do a lot of texting. I do a lot of this and that." And said, "Okay, well, what does that give you? How does that help you achieve your goals and improve your life?" Because everything that we're doing is to achieve our goals in life. All right. So that's one exercise. And then the other exercise that we have, and this is something that everybody enjoys, is about creating a shopping list. So these are your assignments for Thursday. And we'll talk more about shopping lists. So who creates a shopping list before, like, let's say supermarket? Does anybody create a list before going to the supermarket? Anybody in the group? Or do you just go and buy what you need? Or what you think you need?
Well, not all the time. Sometimes, but
Alright.
even sometimes when you get there, then you find out something else, that you didn't remember, then buy it. Yeah,
Okay, all right,
it's like a guide.
okay. Celia?
I write one when I do my major shopping. When I do my major shopping, I do, like when I shop in bulk,
Mhm.
I will have a shopping list with everything I need. When I don't is when I'm going to buy basic things, bread and like that I need to top up.
Okay, all right. And does that process help you? I mean, what does the process do for you, writing that list? How does it help you?
It helps me be focused and also not to forget the things. So as I look around the house, if I know that this is running down, I put it on my list and put it on my list and put on my list. So on that day that I'm going, I'm just looking around to just confirm that this is all. And if I need to add anything, then when I go, I am focused. Anyway, I think it also helps that it's not really a place where you can walk around like in a proper mall. It's a place where you must go, just focus on what you have on your list and get out.
Okay, all right, very good. And that's what we see too. We do the same thing in our household. There's a piece of paper on the counter. So as we go through the week and we run out of major things, we write on it, or before we go, make a list. And in class, that's what we do. So we have this the participants write for like one meal or shopping list. So it both helps them to focus on having a healthy balance, a healthy diet, and also knowing how much money they have to spend. So in the worksheet, the way this works, this number 10, this actually comes from the register book. So if I go to the register book, you go in there. So then the way they learn how to manage this. All right, everybody's still here. So if I do, let's say if I do another, find the correct place. Yeah. Okay. So when I add this in here, this 15, and when I go back to let's see whether I need to be. Okay. So in the moderation now it shows 15 here. So as the participants add on money to their spend box in the register book, it reflects it in here. Then we make the shopping list. Let's say rice, meat, veggies, fruits. So we write all of these, and then they decide how much of each one we want to buy. Let's say if we want to buy 2 kilos of rice, 10 kilos of okay, so we do 2 and then 10. And then here we teach them how the different measurement units work. So kilogram and things. And then toward the end, so first we create a shopping list in here. And then in the truthful lesson, which is about the 7th or the 8th lesson, they will have about $80 in their spend box. So that's when we go shopping. So let's go to our breakout session, and the question is going to be about how do we create a balance in our time. Let's concentrate on time, and then how do we create a balance in our spending? So those are the 2 things. Do you feel like you have challenges with creating that balance in there, or no, you feel like you're okay, everything is going well? Ms. Banks, are you able to take one of the breakout rooms? I need to step away for briefly.
I'm sorry.
Can you take one of the breakout rooms?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So Nika, I'm gonna recreate. So it shuffles.
What's the question?
So the question is about this moderation. How are we doing? How are the friends doing on time management? Do they feel like they're in control of their time? And then also in control of their finances? Do they feel like they have a balance between spending, saving, sharing, and so it's about, or do they think that they are in control of it? And we can also talk about, if there's time, talk about the shopping list, the importance, but mostly about, do they feel like they have a balance in life? Okay, so break rooms are open. We'll take 10 minutes and then we'll come back. So please join your breakout session. Okay, I believe everybody is back. Ms. Banks, you're gonna go first?
Go ahead and go. I gotta close this window. I can't even concentrate.
Oh, okay, no problem. Nika, do you wanna?
Okay, yeah. So in our group, basically all of us, I'm not sure, all of us are not doing very well with time management. Some are working on it more actively than others, but it's a big issue for us. And some kind of feel like we don't even have enough free time to start with to even manage. So it's a bit of a struggle to get the free time to allocate, because there are so many things to do within a day, within the 24 hours, that to get a free time to, to do the things you would want to do, it's a bit of a struggle. And then financial moderation as well, it's also, no, it's not balanced, because right now in Nigeria especially, we're going through a kind of a transition period, and there's been like major inflation. Okay, like we used to have something that's called subsidy, where petroleum products were subsidized, and then which was just taken out within the last 1 month. So a lot of people are still struggling to reallocate the resources or recalibrate their finances. So it's a bit of a struggle and a challenge right now for almost everyone. So that is a no as well.
Okay. So on the time management, is it, I mean, I often find myself in that same boat as well. And I have learned to begin to say no, especially when it comes to not necessarily helping other people, because I'm quite involved with our Baha'i faith. And it's like often they just call me up. It's like, let's call Alex, let's call Alex. And I begin to say no. It's like, I'm not the only one who can do this. There are a lot of other people. Just because I have been able to do it in the past, there are others that can do. So that is, yeah, I'm still challenged with time management. There are things that I have struggled with, but hopefully we can all get a little bit better. All right. From the other group, anybody would like to share what you guys talked about? I know Ms. Banks is doing something. Celia, were you in the other group?
Yes, I was in the other group. I think generally we all agreed that there's room for improvement, especially on how we utilize our free time. People gave an example about a desire, at least for myself, and I think someone else confirmed that they're also looking at that. In terms of having more time to read and to pray, or to, to study the Bible. That's something that we felt that we can do better. I know that Amara, as a student, she said, in terms of her school, it, can easily overwhelm her, but she makes time to, be in touch with her family, to read a bit, just to, to relax herself.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all.
Very good. I want to ask Abube, since he's the youngest member of the team in here, how are you doing with your time?
What did you say?
So the question is, how are you managing your time? You're right now in summer holidays, but like when there is school, do you find yourself, is it hard to manage your time? Do you want to play video games all the time or do other stuff?
Well, sometimes, most times I play video games.
Oh, okay.
Well,
All right.
Sometimes I don't go outside if I get like a headache from looking at the screen.
Okay. So do you think that is healthy to play so much video game?
Healthy for entertainment, not healthy for my eyes.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, I'm glad you realize that. And there is so much more that you can do. I know that more and more we are becoming attached to our screens, whether it's the computer or the phone or something. What do you think you can do besides just playing video games a lot?
Well, on Saturdays, if I figured out that I need to get something, I do chores so I can get some money and spend.
Okay. All right. Very good. So in our next lesson plan, we'll actually talk about things that we all can do that will kind of distract us from spending too much time on the screen. All right. So let me, did anybody else have anything on this moderation? So this moderation, whether it's our time, whether it's our money, whether it's our eating habits, it's an ongoing process. It's something that we need to work on it first, to acknowledge that we might not be balanced in some area, but then also try to work on it. And I know I'm still, I think everybody has challenges with that. So let's see, we're going to go here. All right, so this is our moderation lesson plan. One of the ways that here in the US we do comparison shopping is to use this app. So Amara, this is going to be something good that you can use. It basically brings what we have here is we can do a lot of comparison shopping even without going to the stores. So we usually have choices of different supermarkets and they have sales. This app is very helpful. Amara, you can put your zip code in there and it will give you all the ads from the different supermarkets and even non-supermarkets. So we can see because prices usually change from these ads are weekly basis. So every week, the different supermarkets put different items on sale. And I know for our family, it's really helpful to do a lot like when we're buying fruits or things that can last longer, especially if there are things that can last longer, then we might buy a little bit more of it if they're on sale. So as you can see, it gives a lot of, this is like food for less. I'm not sure, Amara, what stores are in your area. But once you put your zip code in there, you should be able to see. Are such a thing available in, not maybe to this extent, in Nigeria? Is it possible to do comparison shopping before you go to stores? Can somebody share some ideas? Nika, go ahead.
Really, also depends on what you are shopping for. So in Nigeria, we have like markets and we have like supermarkets. So if you're going to the market, you may not really know, and you go to the market maybe when you want to buy things in bulk.
Okay.
You really buy things in bulk, like your rice and tomatoes and things are really bought in, even meat, buy them in bulk. So it's not really possible.
Okay.
If you're going to those kind of markets to know or to do comparative shopping, no, it's not possible.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, that's one advantage that we have here, whether it's for food items that we buy or even on the internet. When we are buying stuff, we can do a lot of comparison shopping. Amara, do you do any comparison shopping? Not just for the food, but like other stuff that you need to buy, like maybe on the internet or Amazon or something?
I mean, the only thing I can like equate it to is like if I buy clothes sometimes, like if I see something online, I might go wait until I see it in the mall. But I've never really tried it for grocery shopping, so I will now. Thank you for that.
All right. So there is that, and there's also for when you buy, let's say for like clothing items, there are, and I'll send it to you directly because it's only here for US. There are websites that provide like some cash back. And I'll send those to you. But again, those only work for here, US. Like let's say if you're buying from Macy's or Nordstrom or clothing, things like that, you can purchase it online and then you get some cash back and then you can go pick it up, either have it shipped to your place or you can go pick it up in the store. Something that obviously clothing, you want to try it on and you want to see. And particularly now that a lot of stores, the actual stores are closing in US because most of the shopping is now shifting to online. So it makes it a lot easier to do shopping comparison. So these are some of the items that we teach our participants in school. That's what we do in our moderation. All right. So we will try to, I think, is everybody okay if we go another 45 minutes till 10:30 p.m. Nigeria time? I don't hear anything, so I assume it's okay. All right. We'll just go through the next two lesson plans, which is the responsibility and accountability. And these tie into most of the things that we've been talking about. This is kind of a continuation. Our responsibility and accountability are actually foundation of our borrowing system. And it doesn't matter whether we're in US, whether we're in Nigeria or anywhere in the world. We will talk more about borrowing on Thursday. But before we start to borrow, we need to become responsible and accountable individuals. And there's a distinct, there's a big difference between being responsible or accountable. And this is one of my favorite lessons because every class that we do, there's usually one person, one of the students that has absolutely no chores around the house. So the way we do this one is we list out our chores. Let's say pick up trash, maybe wash dishes. Let's say laundry. So all of those. Let me ask, how are chores divided up in your household? Does anybody want to share? Especially in the family situation. Can anybody share with us how are chores and responsibilities divided in your household? Go ahead, Nika.
For chores, we'll have like one person making the meals, somebody washing the dishes, somebody else picking the trash, and then cleaning the house, sweeping and mopping, that kind of thing. And then that is shared. And the laundry is outsourced most of the time. Okay, so that's basically it.
Okay. Do you have a regular schedule of who does what during the week, or everybody knows their responsibilities and they take care of it?
We don't have a written schedule. I think everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing. Everybody knows their chores and they do it.
Okay. All right. Very good. So this is along the same line of creating a shopping list. It's about us getting into the habit of becoming responsible and accountable for our actions, whether it's our time management, our money management, our responsibility management. Again, always find at least one child in every class that does not do anything. And the way we talk about it is just as we were talking about the last hour, as part of the allowance, it's like we all have responsibilities. We all need to feel responsible, not only for ourselves, but for our family. And we'll talk about it, our community and the entire world. That's part of the reason why this lesson is here, because we are not living in an island by ourselves. There's a lot that we can do. So this is something that those that have, especially families that have responsibility challenges, they can use this sheet to do it. But more importantly, I'm going to move on to these two. The next one is about understanding our responsibilities. And as we grow older, we want to take on more responsibilities, but we don't understand what it really means. Does anybody have a child who may always wanted a pet, a dog, a cat, or something like that? So we can use that example here. Do we have any family whose child wanted a pet?
Hello, yes, my kids actually want
Yes.
a dog.
Okay, so either of your kids wanted a dog. And how old are your kids?
14 and 11.
14 and 11. Okay. And have you gotten the dog yet or not?
No,
Okay. All right. So tell us, why are you okay with them getting a dog or not?
no, I'm a typical Nigerian mom. I know.
So tell us why you don't want them to have a dog.
Well, basically, I didn't grow up with one, I don't really know how to take care of one. I think it's a lot of work, and I don't know if they'll be able to take care of it very well.
Okay, but don't they say that, Mom, we promise we will take care of everything? Haven't they made that promise yet?
Yes, they have.
And still that promise is not good enough for you?
No, it's not.
Uh, exactly. This is like, so we make an example in here. So if somebody, if the, somebody wants a pet, a dog or something like that, they always say, yes, I'll take care of the dog, but they don't necessarily understand that owning a dog means that you have to walk the dog, you have to feed, you have to clean, you have to train, you have to play with the dog. They are very excited about having a pet, a dog, but then they don't necessarily know, they've never been exposed to all the responsibilities that go along with that new task. My wife and I have been lucky because both of us are allergic to dogs. So when the boys wanted to have dogs, they said, no, we are allergic, we will sneeze. And we told them, whenever you move to your own house, you can have whatever you want. You want a dog, cat, whatever that is, you can have whatever you want. Now, let's shift this when we get a little older. Can somebody give an example of a responsibility that we say we can handle, maybe as a young adult, but we don't necessarily quite understand all the different elements that go with it? Can anybody give an example? Because as we grow older, we do want to take on more responsibilities, but we don't necessarily quite understand the different elements that go with it. Okay, here's one example I can think of is renting versus owning. So when we rent, let's say, an apartment, we are responsible to pay for rent. But at least here in the US, the landlord is responsible for all the maintenance. For all the maintenance expenses, the insurance, taxes, we pay taxes and insurance for owning a house. And if anything, anytime anything breaks down, we just call the landlord and say, this is what's broken, and they send the repair person to fix. Now, often we want to, you might have heard that the American dream is to own our own home. But then we don't think about, well, what does it mean to own our own house? Yes, it would be higher payment every month, but then we have to think about all the repairs, all the expenses, everything that goes along with it. And it's not something that we can just move in and out as easily. So as we're growing older, we need to understand the different elements. That's why this activity 2 is in here, is understanding the different elements of the responsibility that we're taking on. In our financial world, let me ask Amara. Amara, you have a credit card, correct?
Yes.
And what age did you get your credit card?
Sometime last year, so not long ago.
Not long ago. Okay, all right. Did you feel responsible enough to get a credit card?
Yes.
And did you receive any education? Have you received any education on how credit cards and credit system work in US?
I wouldn't say like a formal education. My friends had gotten credit cards like a couple months before, and I knew like the gist of it.
Okay, all right. So please be very careful. I will even do a one-on-one session with you so you would understand how the credit system, because it's very complicated here in US, but it's enjoyable. You will get to really enjoy it. And I do have, actually, I'm supposed to, maybe like toward end of July or August. You're staying in US, correct? You're studying here?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So I do have a few other people that I need to do this for, and I'll coordinate it because the credit cards are a great tool. However, they can be a great, they can be disastrous if we don't know how to use them. So the only thing that I can tell you right now to make sure you understand is that don't spend on things that you don't need or you don't have the money for. So make sure you have the money for what you're spending. So just use that credit card for the things that you already need and you already have the money for. And then there are a lot of other great benefits for using credit cards, which I will talk later.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right. So yeah, for people here in US, this credit card, I love our credit cards. I use them on everything. I actually consider myself a credit card junkie because I'm abusing the credit cards, not in a bad way, but I have learned how to use them. But many people in US, unfortunately, especially young adults, when they get their first credit card at the age of 18, they don't have the education, they don't know the responsibility that goes along with it, and they really get into trouble with credit cards. All right, I want to concentrate on this next activity because this is very important. So we talked about our responsibilities around the house, understanding what responsibilities are as we grow older. Now I want to talk about, do you think we should feel responsible for others? Who in the group thinks that we should feel responsible for people that we don't even know? Any thoughts? Like people in our neighborhood, not neighborhood, we usually, well, in the US, we don't even know our neighbors, but I don't think that's the case in let's say, Nigeria. But do you feel like you should feel responsible for challenges that are in our societies? Any thoughts? Go ahead, Nika.
Responsible. I would say that, yeah, there are certain issues in the society that we could help or I can help, but not really responsible as in the term responsible. I mean, that's how I would put it.
Okay, so can you give me a challenge? Is it in, I assume it's a challenge in Nigeria, right, back home?
Yeah, okay, so have a big issue around poverty and the injustice that goes to those that are poor, kind of. Okay, so we have like medical system, those that if you can't pay for it, you don't get medical attention, those kind of injustice. And you find a lot of people dying because they can't afford medical. So those medical attention, that's, for me, it's a big issue for me. It's something that gives me a lot of concern.
Okay, but from what I can see, your family is well off. You don't have these challenges, do you?
Not immediately. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. So why is it that you feel? Why is it concerning, or why do you think you should do something about it? Why is that?
Because it's just not fair. It's not fair. I mean, every human being deserves at least that chance, that fighting chance to be able to get attention when it's needed.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
And what do you plan? I mean, do you have some ideas how you might go about, because this is a big problem. I mean, it's not something small, and it's not only in Nigeria. It is here in US too. We have still have poverty. We have a lot of people that don't have a place. So what are your plans? How are you going to tackle this?
Okay, so immediately, I'm not sure I have any plan, but where I think I can come in is really in educating people, health education, because there are basic things that people could do and they don't get to fall sick or they don't find themselves in that position. So certain life changes or that can be done, and then you won't get yourself in that condition or position, right? So that's for me, that is where I think, because health is a big issue, but if we get to educate ourselves on how we can help ourselves to avoid certain health challenges, I think that's where I see myself, helping, really.
Okay, all right, very good. So this was the point of the question in our purposefulness. When we asked the question, what keeps me up at night? This was the purpose of this question. We think that we all play a role in our major role in our societies. There are so many challenges, and no matter where we go, one challenge that there are a lot of challenges even in our US society. One of the biggest challenges that we see when we go into the classrooms to present this program, a lot of our youth, young ones, like in grade 4 or 5, they cannot do simple math and they cannot even spell their own last name, or usually their last name. So a few months ago, in one of the classrooms I was in, a 4th grader doing the register book and doing the addition. She was trying to add 9 plus 2, and she was just sitting there. And I said, okay, count it out. And she goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This should not be happening to a 4th grader. So that's one of the challenges that we are seeing going into the classroom. And I often think about maybe we should first teach them how to do math before finances, but that's a bigger challenge. So part of your assignment for Thursday in the responsibility is to fill in, think about what are the challenges that we see in our societies and what solutions can we offer and start working on. So I want to ask Ebube. Ebube, what do you think? What have you seen something that you think it's not right and it can be improved? And maybe you can do something about it.
Yes.
What is it?
Things actually.
Okay.
Like problems in school, like there's an argument between 2 people, or somebody has an idea and another person has an idea, and they just can't agree. So you find a way to combine those 2 together so it can be settled at the same time. No, that's 100% your idea.
Okay, all right. Is it something that you think you can do by yourself, or do you need some help from other people?
Well, I won't say help. You need the agreement between the 2 people, 2 or above people, and to agree with your things. So it's
Okay.
really a 3-man work.
All right. And my other question is, you're only 10 years old. Shouldn't you just be more think about playing video game, as you said? Aren't you too young to be thinking about solving a problem?
No, it can be any age to solve a problem.
Okay, very good. And I love it. And this is what our idea is. We are never too young. And this is something that unfortunately our societies all over the world, we think that us adults have all the solutions. We know how to fix things. And we try, and it doesn't work. And we have for longest time, we have not given our young ones, our youth, the chance to participate in these challenges and bring their ideas. Of course, they do need support, they need help, but it's amazing when we do this exercise in the schools, even for the 3rd graders. Again, we start with 3rd grade. This is like Ebube is a perfect example. They all come up with challenges in their school. And they begin, sometimes they want to just go tell the principal how to fix it. But then when we have a consultation together, it's like, all right, Let's see, I'll give you an example. One time, a group of students said that this last time, they said there's a lot of trash, rubbish in the school yard. And we asked, it's like, okay, so who is putting these rubbish? Is it the teachers? Is it the principal? Is it the custodian? They said, no, it's the student. They said, particularly the fifth graders. This is a school from kindergarten to 5. And we started to consult about, well, why is it that the fifth graders are throwing rubbish in the yard? And the student said, well, because they don't care anymore. It's their final year in this campus. And because they don't care for it, they want to leave and they just throw rubbish. So the idea was to start in their classroom, talk about it, and then go maybe talk to the principal and then bring in the fifth graders to help them realize that this is their home, this is their environment, this is like their second home. And on top of that, for the fourth graders, make sure that when they become fifth graders the following year, they don't follow the same thing. So there is a lot that we can do, and you'll be amazed. I'm talking to our adults here. You'll be amazed as how much our young ones can participate and can contribute to addressing some of these challenges. And to help with that, there are some of the lesson plans, they have videos. So you see the video link in here. We're not going to watch it, but I will put it in the group chat as part of our assignment. These are short 4-minute videos, and several of the lessons do have videos that bring out, that show a challenge that somebody is trying to address. And then also it shows the progress, how it's done. And actually in the accountability, it's about a fourth grader who decided to purchase a climbing wall for his school. Ms. Banks, do you want to share something, what you have seen in school? Because I think this is a very important topic, what you have seen from the students that you have worked with. Some of the challenges that they, I'm not sure if she's behind her computer. Okay, yep, she is. Ms. Banks?
Some of the challenges that I'm having a hard time saying the screen.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's wrong with your video, but anyway, so what have you seen working with the young kids and doing this lesson plan? What are some of the challenges they come up with and their solutions?
Well, the last one was the amount of students in the classroom was the problem with them. And that's when we shared the ones of the other students that have to sit on the floor, and there's 98. So they were trying to come up with the fact that there was empty rooms and the need for more teachers. I found that very interesting, that the young third graders were seeing that this was a lot of children in one room, one teacher, and they wanted more room or less students. That was one of the problems they did see. The other one was playground equipment. They wanted something different. They were bored with what they were playing with. So they came up with the Marquise thing. The fact of having a lemonade sell and earning money to get whatever they wanted to get.
Okay, all right, very cool. So we'll continue to talk about this more. And actually the last hour when we do, it's about how do we start at addressing some of these challenges. And it particularly has ideas about how we can get together as a group of friends, whether it's in college, whether it's in school or in the neighborhood, but bringing people especially like-minded people together and drawing on the power of the Holy Spirit. That's a major part of it. Up to now, we have tried to just fix the problems with material stuff, putting more money into the education, whether it's health education or the academic. We've been trying to do that, and it's usually have been either individuals or maybe organizations, NGOs that are trying to do this, or the governments. One of the challenges that we have here in our societies here in the US is that there's a large group of people that feel that government should do everything for them. They are waiting for government handouts. They're waiting for and it's just outspoken about it that I need to be provided with services, and yet they're not willing to do anything on their own or not much. So bringing people together and elevating their status. That's like, okay, if there's something wrong, we need to start working on it, pray together, begin to work together. And then, of course, at times we do need to have resources from outside, whether it's from the government, from organization, or things like that. So we will talk more about this. And this is, as you can see, this plays in the role. So if you remember, when we read the scriptures, the third purpose that we have on earth is to help this ever advancing civilization move forward. And this is how we participate in it. And it really doesn't matter whether we are a teacher, a doctor, a plumber, a cook, whatever we are, we can all play a role in elevating our societies with the guidance and support of higher powers. That's something that has been missing. And we are hoping that more and more people recognize that. And as if you remember from last session, our material, as it says in here, our material and spiritual civil powers and civilization need to become one. They're like two wings of one bird. We cannot have them separate. We cannot have our prayers at church, in a synagogue, in a mosque, in a Baha'i temple, and then live our life separately. So they have to come together. And we're hoping that through this process, it would be done. There are a lot of communities throughout the world that are doing this actually. And it is showing a lot of great results. All right, so assignments is for everyone to do their, mostly the short table we can do, but more importantly is talk about challenges and their solutions. I'll just show this stuff in the accountability because it is getting late in Nigeria. It's 10:15 p.m. I don't want to wrap it up. So the idea of accountability, again, it goes hand in hand with responsibility. Here is about discovering what is existing in our neighborhood and what's missing. So the goal of our community is progress, is to advance and become better. So whether it's our health, the community health, whether it's the spiritual health, the mental, emotional, the physical health. So here you would kind of write down, where do you go to get your nutrition? Different type of supermarket. And you can name them. So I'm just going to name some of the stores that we have in here. Like we have Vons, we have Walmart, a lot of different places where we can go get healthy food. And like farmers market. Sprouts, yes, there's a lot of different stuff and so forth. So the next one is, does everybody have a place to live in? Is shelter and affordable housing? That's one of the issues that we're challenged with here in our societies, in California particularly. Affordable housing is not easy to find. For those that are struggling with their finances and their income, affordable housing is missing. So you can see, first is to write about what's already existing in your communities, and then start to think about what's missing. In the schools, we often have the students say a skate park. That is something that they like to, or maybe a community center. Something that's missing, a community center. And then we begin to think about, well, what does it take? How do we start building a skate park? Or how do we begin to create things that are missing in here? And with that, often we need to like borrow. If you're going to build a skate park, the community maybe can get together and pull some funds together. But if it's a larger project, it needs to borrow some stuff. And then that's when we get into the borrowing, which we will talk more about it next on Thursday. All right, I'm going to stop here, see if there are any questions before we finish today's session. And I will put, so the session is recording. I know several members are missing today. So the recorded will become available in a few hours. And I will also put the assignments, all the assignments that needs to be done for Thursday. But really appreciate everyone that tried to do the assignments. I know, again, this is an intensive course. We normally do one session per week, so there is more time for everyone to do their assignments, to talk to their friends and neighbors about what they have learned. But because of our time strength, that's why we're going through this a little faster than usual. All right, any questions before we wrap up?
Hello, I have a question.
Sure.
I might have a bit of a problem with the assignments, the community development and all. I live in a very controlled environment, so to say. The government does most of the things. You can't just get up and decide you want to do something. The best you can do is, if you notice something, you report and all that. Yeah,
Okay.
Germany is very government controlled, sort of.
Okay, my suggestion would be to at least start a group. Is it like a apartment complex where you live, or is it like a neighborhood? How is this?
The neighborhood.
A neighborhood. So have you tried to like at least get together with your neighbors to begin to talk about? I mean, this is something that could start like that. Yes, you have to think about the realities. While we are saying that this is something good to do, but every neighborhood is different. Have you tried to like get together with your neighbors and start to talk about some challenges and pray about it and see what comes out of that? Have you tried that?
No.
Okay, all right. Well, I highly recommend doing that. And you'll be surprised what comes. Of course, yes, you may come up with a lot of challenges. And then everybody would be like, but when we draw on the power of the Holy Spirit, amazing things happen. This is something that I have experienced and I continue to experience on a regular basis. Just get together, see what are some of the challenges, and then you'll see what happens. I cannot guarantee any results, but it would be really interesting to see what happens if you do that. And don't expect it to happen like you get together, you pray, and you talk about it once and it's done. You may have to do it for, I don't know, 5, 6, or at least for a while to see what comes out of it. And we'll talk more about how we start this process on Saturday.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you so much, especially to those in Nigeria, they're still up. Please do your assignments as soon as you can, and then we'll see you guys on Thursday. All right, bye.
Bye. Thank you very much.
Bye. Thank you, bye.
Oh, Jesus.